Today's interview is with Gualter Amarelo. Gualter talks about a lot of interesting stuff today. He talks about that, for one, that he spent $85,000 on education. So I think that's a really interesting topic in itself. How he's built his portfolio, how he continues to build his portfolio, the programs that he offers. He has coaching, he has mentoring, he has a lot of stuff going on. So stick around for all of today's interview. As always, like and subscribe on Wrestling with Real Estate, the YouTube channel. Go to the WWRE Podcast and give me a 5-star rating and write me a review if you think it's worthy. And I'm looking to speak to as many of you as possible. If you're interested in real estate, whatever aspect that is, I'd love to get to know you, see if there's any way that I can help you. So there's going to be a link in the description down below, or go to wrestlingwithrealestate.com and sign up there. Love to get to know you, love to see if there's any way I can help you. But before all of that, stick around today and hear about Gualter's Midas touch.
Crushing it, bro.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Gualter Amarelo. How you doing, bro?
Doing awesome, Barry. It's really cool to be here, man. I love that introduction.
Thanks, man. I try and bring some energy, at least if nothing else. We were talking beforehand. I noticed, man, you haven't stopped smiling this whole time, so I love that. I love your energy. I love what you bring, your positivity. So I'm excited for today's interview. But before that, before we dive into it, can you kind of give us an idea about your background, what you've been up to, and what you're up to right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 2 years ago, I wrote the book Broke to a Quarter Million. The point is not to work, it's to generate income. And so I moved down to Tampa. We were just talking about it. I moved down to Tampa to write the next book. And the next book is basically the underground playbook on how to find deals off market and really just get into the motivated seller's house. I can't release the title yet because it's still a working title. So... But it will be out in January. I'm just looking for something that's like super SEO friendly.
That can, and catchy, right? That can get people's attention. Awesome, man. So where did you grow up? What did you do before you found real estate investing? What career path were you on? All that good stuff. If you don't mind sharing a little bit about that.
Wow, yeah, big question. And so I got a background of my hometown. So this is Fall River, Massachusetts behind me. This is the waterfront in Fall River. So that is where I grew up. I moved kind of all over the place for a little while. I was trying to find myself. I was an accountant early on, and it wasn't until a pretty traumatic experience in my life where everything just shifted, and went through a pretty amazing divorce. Lost all my money, got completely broke. You know, I talk about it in the book. That part broke was a real experience. I was worth less than $25,000, and that kind of put me on this journey through real estate where it was like, man, the only thing that was going to pull me out of it was big money. There was nothing was going to get me out of this situation I put myself into. And at one point I was actually $150,000 in credit card debt, which most people can't even imagine. How do you do that? Right? like, bro, you messed up. And real estate, dug me out of it. I started investing when I was 28. I started buying multifamilies. I bought my first house at 22. I bought a single family move-in hack. And then at 26, I'd sold it, kind of drifted for about a year and started buying real estate again. And then from that point in 2013, I bought my first multifamily. From that point, just kind of was nonstop. Buy one every year. Just a machine, man. Like the compound interest, it gets nuts.
That's awesome. Yeah, first of all, I'm sorry that you went through that, right? It's never fun to go through these moments and these tough times. But I've, through talking to a lot of successful people, and maybe you've realized this as well, a lot of them have like hardships, right? Have hard times, but it always seems to then that spurs them on to some success, right? I had a gentleman I was speaking to yesterday that someone fraudulently bought 2 homes in his name that he had no idea. He didn't know that they bought the homes for him until he got the notice of default from the bank. He was like, what, he lived in California, and this was in Atlanta, and it was like crazy, right? And he never really been in real estate, but that then pushed him to go into be an agent, and now he's a successful agent. Now, if that hadn't never happened, he would never have gone to do something else, right? And I see it time and time again, man, and that those tough times, they push them, and a lot of times that leads to people's success. Strangely enough, there's certain situations that would never have happened unless, you know, that those hard times would have happened. And it's just amazing. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that have had hard times and they give up, right? But I think the successful people, they use that and it drives them forward, man. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's 100% truth. You know, I was an accountant previously, then got my real estate license after the divorce, you know, because I didn't have any, I quit my job, I lost my job. And then it was, okay, what do I do now? Like, how do I earn income? I thought real estate agency was a great idea. I had no sales skills. I went from making $75,000 a year to $17,000 a year, and realized that this was not working for me. I had to change this. And it put me on that self-development journey, like you said, just where I could no longer accept being the person that I was. I had to change who I was, like internally, like in a level that I'd never looked at before. Go back to the principles, go back to the core blocks, and just change how I thought, what I responded to things, and just start from scratch, basically.
That's amazing that you had that realization. What was it that hitting those tough times that made you realize that? Was there something else that made you realize that?
Yeah, I mean, so it's really tough to know that you got to change something when everything's working, right? Like if it's not broke, you don't fix it. And when you get broke, well, like when you really see that money's not working for you, like you're not getting the green stuff anymore. You're just like, if anything, you're paying this stuff out, right? You're not like bringing it in. It gets more and more scary when you're living off of a stack of these things, bro. Like when credit cards are how you live, your life, you know, your life's taking a turn for the worse. Like it's, I don't think that until you get to the bottom, you don't know how to jump off, right? Like until you get to the bottom, you don't know how to jump back. And as long as you're just kind of like treading water and floating, you think life's okay. And it's not until you like get down to the bottom of the pool that you're like, oh my God, there's no air down here. I've got to get back up to the top. And you just use that to launch out of the pool, get away from the water, instead of, you know, every so often you're drowning yourself on accident. You don't know what's going on.
Man, that's amazing. Yeah, man, I could relate so much to that because, like you said, when everything's fine and dandy, right, you have no idea, like, you have no reason to question yourself, right? You have no reason to sort of take a look and have that self-reflection and really figure out, who am I? What do I stand for? What do I need to do to improve myself? Who's the person that I want to be? Because you're riding a wave and everything's great, right? I was there. I was kind of going through that myself with wrestling. And it wasn't until wrestling came to an end and I was like, wait, what do I do now, right? And you had to ask probably similar to you, ask myself some similar questions. So I appreciate you sharing that, man, because I think we all could do with some self-reflection, right? None of us are perfect, and we think we all, you know, within a certain reason. I'm not saying be negative towards it ourselves, but if we can take that self-reflection and realize, what do I need to improve on? Who do I need to be to have the life that I want, and to make everyone around me happier as well, right? Because the person I am not only affects myself, it affects my son, it affects my wife, it affects my friends, it affects my family. So I love that, man. I appreciate you sharing that. That's such an interesting insight. So that's cool, man.
You know what I like about you, Barry? Like you have such a good energy about it. You're like, you know, you just want to serve everybody, want to take care of everybody. Like I came from like a really selfish place when I started serving people. Like I have a huge community now that I give back. You know, Alchemist Nation is so much about giving, but man, I started out so selfish. I was like, okay, I want what I want from people, which is money. I want this cash from people. And the only thing I can do to get it is I got to serve them. So, okay, fine. Like I'll go create something they want. I'll serve in some way. And it wasn't until I got to where you're at, where I started falling in love with the process of serving, where it became a game for me. Like, how can I add value? Like, even in my relationships, you know, like you mentioned your wife, like how, like you got a good relationship with her. You just want to serve, you want to make her life better. It became the same thing with relationships. How do I add more value? How do I make them more excited to be alive today? How do I make my business partners just happy to be alive? How do I make my employees happy to just to exist and have this opportunity? People who live in my city, how do I make them feel excited about the place that they live? And it wasn't until like every problem became a challenge and like, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? How do I fix this? that money really started to flow. So like in the beginning, when I was just trying to fake it, it did not work. It did not work.
So yeah, you've got to come from a genuine place of wanting to help people, right? Because you hear people all the time, add value, help people, right? But if you're doing it, like you said, from an ingenuous place, right? For one, I think people see through it, right? I think people eventually see through it, but then also you won't always be doing the right thing either. If you're just doing it to think that you know what I mean? It's so true, man. It's so true. The talk about your podcast, but you mentioned it there. I love the name, by the way. Did you get that from the book, The Alchemist, or was it?
So the name of the Alchemist podcast it's been all over the place. So we actually started with the Midas Touch, which is one of my assistants back in the day. He told me, he's like, man, like you turn people into gold. And I was like, I'm sticking to that. You know, I've turned people into gold. You're right. Every person who comes to the pipeline is an opportunity. I just shine them up, you know, we forge them, whatever it is, and you know, turn them into gold. So it started with the Midas Touch and then slid into, he just started calling me the Alchemist. He's like, man, you're the Alchemist. You're the Alchemist. Like you just build all these things that go out and create opportunity for people. And over time, I started teaching people how to do that. And now that's what Alchemist Nation became, was how do we teach other people to build assets or build themselves so that they can add value to other people's lives just by being who they are, give them the Midas touch and turn people into alchemists. And so I had read the book, obviously, The Alchemist, love it, phenomenal story. And so to be able to rock that brand and be able to say, you know, yeah, we do alchemy, like it goes back to this little kid part of me that loves, you know, fantasy novels, you know, medieval stuff with magic and like Dungeons and Dragons. It just brings that whole side of me out. So
that's awesome. I love that book too. I read it maybe about a year ago. Such a good book. Like it's a really enjoyable book as well to work through, man. That's cool. I love the name of your podcast. What we're talking about, where can people find your podcast? Where can people?
Awesome. So if you can figure out how to spell my name, Gualteramarelo.com. It's Gualteramarelo, 1L10. Gualteramarelo.com. Go to education, and then in the drop down, podcast. And Alchemist Nation podcast is just like I was telling you earlier, this is like my cheat for life, my cheat code for life. If I want coaches, I used to pay for them. I paid over $85,000 in coaching, mentors, masterminds. And then I realized if I got a podcast, I was serving what my coaches wanted. I was serving what my mentors wanted, was more attention, more audience. And so I kind of just skipped having to pay them by just putting them on my podcast and asking the questions that I wanted.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the same with me, right? It's that great conversation that you have every time you hop on a podcast. It's for one, hopefully people get something out of it, right? But then even if they don't, I know every time I get something out of it, right? Maybe that's selfish, but I'm always trying, of course, to give a great interview, great conversation for people. But I always get so much out of an interview every single time.
Yeah, Barry, you said it. Like what I discovered was that Alchemist Nation, like the people who want to invest the way we're investing, that want to get to that next level, they really just want to follow you. Like they want to follow you in what you're doing. And so if you have a question, I guarantee your community has that same question. And so if you identify a leader that you want that question from, I guarantee your community wants that question from that same leader. So any content you create by asking questions that you want to know, it serves your community, because you're only going to attract people who are just like you anyway.
Yeah. And that was another reason why I wanted to start a podcast, because I listened to a lot of podcasts myself, and there was always questions that I wanted asked. It's like, oh, why didn't they just ask that question there? So now, like, I'm in control. Like, so I apologize if anyone has questions that I'm not asking, but I'm trying to ask what I'm interested in. Man, that's fascinating.
Make sure you put those questions in the comments. Give us the thumbs up. Share this around.
Yeah, you know the deal. Yeah. If you have any questions, yeah, please reach out. I'm sure both of us would love to answer any questions that you have. You said that you spent over 85,000 in mentorship and education. That's quite the investment. Was that when you realized that you needed to improve yourself, that you need to figure stuff out, that you need to become a person that you wanted to be?
Yeah. So I wish that was the point that I started spending the money. I really do wish that when I realized I had an issue, that was when I started investing. It would have sped me up. But no, I still had the issue of being afraid to invest in myself. I didn't trust myself that I could, capitalize on these programs. So no, I spent the next year reading books and avoiding action and avoiding communities where I'd look like I wasn't smart. And so basically I spent the next year doing absolutely nothing. And so I got a lot of knowledge, but I didn't have any action steps or experience or any friends or network. And so I was really in the dark the next year. And it wasn't until I put the first 10,000 down that suddenly I had this whole community that was doing the same thing as me. And they started moving me forward. And man, like I went from making 17,000 that first year of just trying to do it on my own to making 115,000 in my second year, which I'd never earned before.
Well, that was in the real estate agency business. That's where you.
That was as an agent. Yep.
Wow. So what was that? What was that first? That was a good $10,000 spent then, huh? What was that first? What was that first program?
So that was T. Harv Ekker's Millionaire Mind Intensive. And I got that from his book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, which is still in my training program. We call that one of the foundational 5. We have 5 books that everybody should read if you want to build wealth. And that is on Gualteramarelo.com. You go check out the books. But that was one of the foundational 5. It's book number 3.
Wow. That's fascinating. So what do you think it was in that coaching program that they taught you? Obviously you can't go through everything, but like on a high level, what was it that kind of changed you think to kind of go from making that's a huge jump, right? From 17,000 to 100 plus thousand, 150,000, whatever it was, is crazy. What do you think?
It was crazy for me too. So the way I set that goal was I'd watch The Secret, and in that movie, one of the guys says that, I think it was Jack Canfield, the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. He says, I set a number, I'd never earned 100,000 before. So I set a number that was so big that if it worked, if I hit 100,000 that year, then I know that this worked. And so I did the same thing. I was like, I've always been a $40,000 person. Last year I made 75,000. This year I made 17. I'm on my track to make nothing, but I ended up making 17 at the end of the year. And so I figured if I put 100,000 as my goal, if I aimed at that, like I would know this mindset stuff works. And then I would go after something bigger. And that was kind of it was a decision, but the courses were amazing, man. It was, so I went to the 3-day event, the intensive, really like it shook me up. I cried. Like I discovered a lot about what was going on with me, and I forgave my mom and my dad and like my family. And I just forgave, everybody. It was just a really good event. But then the program they signed me up for took me through, made me travel all across the country by myself. I didn't travel with anybody. I'd never done that before. And then I was out of my own element, out of my town. And, we did events called Train the Trainer. So I learned how to speak from stage. It was actually the last event I went to. And I took it 2 years after paying for it because I was so afraid of being on stage and making mistakes. Who knows like what the fear is. But there was Mission to Million. So learn what your purpose is, learn your passion. There was Guerrilla Business School, learn all the marketing tactics to really build your business. There was Never Work Again, which taught you how to invest in passive income structures, business income structures, rental properties. And there was a couple other courses, Master of Influence. So learned neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, and influencer copywriting for social media. So really, really powerful training courses that we ended up in, all of us as a community. And I just met some amazing people that I still to this day, some of them are in my mentorship as coaches. So I have celebrity coaches. We've all written books at this point. And we all start as nobodies. And we've gotten to the point where we actually have like educational assets with us that we can actually give back now. But we all agreed back then we wanted to do something. We wanted to do something big.
Yeah. Talk about like with that first 10,000 that you put down, right? Like at the time you're making 17,000. So that's more than double what you're making that year, right? More than half, what you've made that year. And you're going to put it down on this course that you have no idea what you're getting yourself in for, right? You've done the 3-day, I guess, beforehand and whatever, but still that's 3 days, right? It doesn't mean anything, right? How were you able to like comprehend that and make that mindset? Because I know I speak to people all the time that talk about training. I would love training. I love mentorship. but the money, right? And I completely get it, right? If you don't have any money to put 10,000, 20,000, whatever down for a coaching program that you have zero guarantees that you're going to get anything out of is a huge commitment. How were you able to like figure that out and think, no, that this was the right move, or at least think that it was the right move, and then actually take that step and do it?
So I've always been a little slower than everybody else. Even in school, I was always the slow person in the class. I was always the person who figured things out later, but one of my gifts is that once I do figure it out, I figure it out solidly, because it takes me a little while to figure things out, but then it's a solid progression from then on. I never look back at it. I've just slowly improving consistently. And so when the coach who was there, the speaker, the trainer, when he said it on stage, go and make a move to the back, I was like, that's probably the right move, but I'm going to see what everybody else does. And then everybody else went and did it, and I didn't. And I was like, well, maybe I just need to go talk to him again. And so I actually pulled him to the side, right at the end of the event, 3 days into it. And I'm already know it's the right thing to do, but for some reason, I'm not going and spending the money because I don't know how, right? I don't know where the money's coming from. And I go up and I talk to him. I'm like, look, my situation is different from everybody else. And he just goes like this. He says, let me guess. You want the coaching program. It's the right thing for you. It's going to help you double your income or increase your wealth 10 times over the next 5 to 10 years. And right now, you don't know where that money is coming from. And I'm going out on a limb here saying you don't trust yourself to actually follow the steps, because something about you think you're different from other people, and that these people might get it, but you won't be able to get it, and you're afraid of that. And well, let me step back and say that's where I decided I wanted to learn neuro-linguistic programming, because I was impressed. And also I was like, this guy's reading my mind. And I told him, like, what do I do? I just asked. I was like, I became very vulnerable. And I said, what do I do? And he said, if you don't have the money now, I guarantee you have access to credit. And what if, let's just pretend you were able to utilize this training and increase your income by $10,000 this year. And for the rest of your life, you're able to increase your income that $10,000 because you learned just a $10,000 a year thing. Would that make it a good return on investment? Because you'd be able to pay that card back right away, right? And I looked at it and I was like, that's reasonable. Like, I know that if nothing else, I'll at least be able to make an extra $10,000 a year. And I've doubled my income ever since. For years, I've been doubling my income. That was 2017 that I hit that first event. And last year, I pulled in $1.5 million between me and my business partner. And man, I cannot believe how life changed. I was 2015 that I met him. It was 2017 by the time I finished their courses. So yeah, Barry, I don't know what to say other than when it's right, make the investment. Now, not all coaches, and this goes out to your audience, right? Not all coaches are the right coaches. Not all mentors are the right mentors. There is always somebody that's right for you at that time. It's up to you to sign up for one person, run their course, do their piece, get your return on investment, and then move on to the next coach. Do not take 3, 4, 5, 6 at a time. Like, that's where shelf help comes in. You've really got to capitalize on what you need at the moment. Like for me, I knew stage speaking was important, but I knew I wasn't doing it right now. I had to figure out how to make money before I even learned what to sell, right? Like I had to figure out what I was going to sell before I learned how to sell it to scale, right? And so I wanted stage speaking, but I knew I wasn't there yet. So you take the things that you need up front, like get some cash flow, get some skills, get some income coming in, and then scale your business, increase sales, increase marketing. It takes a little while to get through it all, but if you set up a 5-year plan, you can be fine.
Yeah, that's fascinating, man. That's so cool that you went through it. Out of interest, what is again, high level neuro-linguistic? What is it called?
NLP. So I'm a master NLP practitioner, and it's called neuro-linguistic programming. So basically, it's the premise that the words you speak can actually create thoughts. So for right now, if I tell your audience to think about a purple elephant, and even if I said, don't think about a purple elephant, your mind instantly is like, well, fuck it. I've already got a purple elephant in my head. I guess I'll just stay here for a little while. And I'm sorry, I just threw the F-bomb out there. I apologize, Barry. We'll clean that up, right?
It's all good. It's all good. And everyone's adults that are listening to this, I think. So it's all good. It's all good. Well, I forgive you. Whatever, right? It's no big deal at all. We'll continue.
So the premise of NLP being able to utilize it is you can actually get people to think about the sale of a purchase, like a product. They can actually start thinking about the product and how much they want it and inspire them to go and make that purchase before actually closing the sale. And then so you'll see a lot of salespeople do this where they'll say, buy now, you know that this is the right opportunity for you. Buy now, you're probably inspired to make this move. And by now, you realize that your life is so much better when you finally go and buy the product now. See, they said buy now 3 times and it gets your mind saying, oh yeah, I do feel good about that. I do feel good about that. Yeah, I'm going to go buy it now, you know?
Yeah, that's fascinating.
But there's so much more to it. So that's influence on other people. But what neurolinguistic programming has given to me is influence on yourself, right? Being able to influence yourself first, as within, so without. Once you change your frame, then everything around you becomes much stronger. And that's where affirmations come from, is actually neurolinguistic programming.
Wow. So it's a version of self-talk. You can use it to influence other people, like you said, but you can use it as self-talk as well, right? That's fascinating. Yeah, I thoroughly believe in that stuff. The way you talk to yourself and what you say about things and about what you're trying to achieve and stuff like that makes a huge difference, right? It's a difference between someone saying, "Hey, I'm trying to smoke," and saying, "I'm a non-smoker," right? It's huge. Those two different things. It's just like, yeah, it's so powerful, man. It really is. Like, if people can figure out what they need to tell themselves, and it's a learning process, right? We're all trying to learn that, but that's fascinating, man. So then after that, you kept going on some more. I'm guessing that first educational program was huge, right? You were like, oh my God, I've gone from 17,000 to 150,000, right? Let me sign up for every educational program. I guess it must have been.
Basically, yeah.
You were from there, I guess. I'm guessing, right?
Man, I will never forget 2017. That was a year. I was in LA, I was in Vegas, I was in Miami, I was in Orlando, I was in Colorado, I was in Denver, Boston, New York, you name it. If there was an event happening and it was under $1,000, I was buying it. Like, if that was basically my realization. If it was $1,000 or less, I'm in. Like, whatever. Like, no big deal. I'll drop $1,000. Everybody after you drop that 1,000 has something, a higher ticket item, right? So I would just go drop the $1,000 to see if it was worth it for me, right? Here's my $1,000. Let me go see if I like you and what you're teaching. If you got more, then I'll buy in. And that was such a fun year. I mean, I learned so much. I built so many great relationships, and to this day, I still use a lot of those relationships.
Wow, yeah, that's fascinating. So how do you decide then? Because respectfully, the job of these seminars, right, is to sell you on higher ticket items, like you said, right? It's the idea, right? How do you decide if it's a good one or not? And it's just not all, because everyone can make their program sound amazing in 3 days, right? And they bring people up that have been there and everything. And I'm not knocking it, because obviously it's been amazing for you, but how do you decipher if it's a good one or not? Is it just a gut feeling, or is there something more that you can kind of look into?
So you got to know where you're at in life, right? So you got to know where you're at in life. You got to take inventory of yourself, what you're missing, like what tools you're missing. What I've discovered is that if somebody has what you want, that's probably the coach you're looking for. So when I was looking to take on coaches for real estate investing, I'd go and ask them what they owned. Like, if they spoke about what they currently owned, how they're managing, but I didn't like their management style. I didn't like the fact they were self-managing. I didn't want that coach, right? I wanted somebody who had a property manager in place. And so that was, how I decided on those coaches. And then when it was stage speaking, I looked at, because I was also at a time where I wanted quality of life. I want to have my girlfriend travel with me. I want my kids to be involved. I want my friends to be there. And so when I was picking the coach to teach me how to stage speak, I looked at his situation. What's his lifestyle? What is he coming from? What does he have that I'm looking for? And he had the person who taught me how to speak had 6 kids and had married with his wife for, I think, 28 years, just a long commitment, and a really stable guy, travels all over the country, just teaching what he loves, teaching abundance, teaching people how to build wealth. And that was how I decided, okay, this is the guy. And I dropped 35,000 with him. And and that was that took me quite a bit. I've been going to a lot of events, and he was a speaker at multiple events. And even though I'd gone to his course twice, and I'd gone to his 3-day twice, It wasn't until he caught me outside at another event, because I'd signed up, but I just never paid, right? I signed up, I was like, yeah, I'm going to pay. I put a down payment. I just never finished. And he caught me at another event, and he pulled me aside. And I was impressed. He remembered me. I was like, wow, he remembers who I am. We're at an event with 400 people. He pulls me aside and he says, hey, I'm ready to take you on. I'm ready to help you out. I'm ready to help you get to the next level. And he's like, what's holding you back? And he really like dove deep into it. And I told him, I was like, well, I'm on track to make 300,000 this year. Like, I don't know that I need another coach to learn how to make 300,000. That's my only goal for the year. And he was like, well, why don't you aim for $1 million? And I was like, because I double my income every year. That's what I do, right? Like, I just double my income. I don't go more than that. Double and that's it. So I was like, dude, don't break the system. It works. It's been working for me, And he's like, so you like to work hard. And at that point, I realized maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing a feature to life. And I told him, I was like, look, you seem like a busy guy. You got a lot of people that you're working with. And I'm just not sure that you're going to spend the time with me. I'm not sure that you're going to one-on-one with me. My situation's different. You live in Connecticut. I live in Massachusetts. Like, I'm not driving out to you. I got my own life. I got my own things I want to do. And I think I got a plan. I really got this plan. I'm fine if I bang out 300,000 this year and I hit, $1 million next year, like, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, like, I'm not okay with that. I think what you've got is the ability to help more people. And I think you're playing too small. And I think that you can be better, be bigger, and help more people faster. And he said, don't you have a reason to do all this? Like, isn't there some reason inside of you bigger than just making money that is so important that you got to go give back and contribute? And it pulled me back to that moment where I was in an apartment I was renovating when my wife asked me for the divorce. And I just was thinking about, taking my life. And there was nothing to keep me here, right? There was nothing there. And it was split second, but then I thought of my brother and I was like, okay, I'll stay for him. That's good enough. And then I thought of my dad and I was like, it's good enough, but I just don't know. I don't feel good enough having my whole entire life hanging the balance on two people, right? So I started thinking, like, what could be something really big, like something I could just, the rest of my life, if I committed to this, then, nothing else matters. If I just go after this one thing. And it was teaching people how to never feel the way I felt at that very moment. Like, if I could just take away the pain of money, because all we fought about was money. That's all it ever was. I was just obsessed with being able to give her the life that she wanted. And so I became obsessed with money. And all she really wanted was time with me. And all she really wanted was to know that, she had a stable life. And I created the most unstable, unpredictable entrepreneurial life that she couldn't hang on to. And so in that moment, I realized, like, I'm going to go and I'm going to build wealth. I'm going to learn how to do it, but I'm going to learn how to do it in a way where people don't have to sacrifice their lives. They don't have to sacrifice all their time or all their energy or all their focus. They can just be themselves and build wealth in an abundant way. And I knew it was possible. Like, in that moment, like, the spark was there. Like, this is something that can be done and you just don't have the tools. And that's what really threw me on that spiral was, man, it's time to go and be better, And when he asked me that, it pulled out all that emotion and it pulled out all of that story, and it got me thinking, yeah, I'm playing small. He's right. I'm not helping enough. I'm not big enough. I'm not doing enough. People on the other side of the world don't know who I am. People in California have no clue what's going on. Like, they're getting crushed by taxes and yeah, they got the weather, but they're still fighting. They're still getting divorced. Like, we live in America, right? So, so it was, yeah, that's what moved me. He went after the emotion. He went after my why, and he got me inspired. So,
well, hey, thanks for sharing that story, man. That's, probably never easy to kind of go over, right? And I appreciate you sharing it, like, because, obviously, like you said, there was, some dark times, but I appreciate you sharing because it might help someone, right? Hopefully someone listening, so you never know who's listening. So I really appreciate you sharing that, man. And it's, unfortunately, money is a burden that we all have, right? A lot of us like to say, oh, I don't care about money. Money isn't important, but I don't think there's a single person that's out there, right? Maybe Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, but even still them, right? That money couldn't improve their life in terms of providing, like Bill Gates' thing is giving now, right? What, you know, he's trying to help the world, improve the world, all that stuff, right? And if he had another $1 billion, he'd give that away and all that. But even for people much lower down, right? If you take away the worry of money, man, wouldn't it be nice? Like, it's not like you have to buy a Ferrari. It's not like you have to buy the biggest house. It's not like you have to go to the Maldives on vacation every week, right? But man, if you didn't have to worry about money, about paying, paying your rent, paying your mortgage, right? If something breaks, you don't have to worry, like the dishwasher goes, there's a leak in the house, all those things, it takes that worry away, right? Wouldn't it be awesome? Like, really, like, you know, outside of it's not being greedy, like taking that financial burden off you, right? It's not thinking like, oh, I want so much money that I can go swim in it or whatever, right? There's not that at all, right? It's just taking that. But
I want to just count it on podcasts. Like, that's my goal with money.
Is that real money too?
No, this is prop money. So I'm a real estate investor, man. I'm like you. My money's all in real estate. I just keep it running.
That's awesome.
I couldn't sit around with this much cash.
For people watching the podcast, for people listening to the podcast, he's got, I don't know, probably $1,000, $2,000 worth of fake money there, Monopoly money.
That is $20,000.
Wow.
That's what my goal to help people make per month is $20,000 stacks. So yeah, it's a cool little reminder to myself. Like, if I can teach people how to do that, they're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's a visual. Yeah, that's an awesome goal to set.
I do keep some real silver on my desk, so to keep me motivated. So
that's cool. He's got a silver bullion, right? Is that what that is?
Yep, 10 ounce silver bullion.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's over the next few years, that'll probably go up a lot in price, I think, as well. You know, if you have some gold as well, I think you'll be.
You know, it's just a reminder that there are other assets other than cash, and there are other assets other than, you know, Bitcoin. I keep a, you know, fake little Bitcoin on my desk. You know, I keep the silver, I keep the credit cards, I keep the Monopoly houses, all little props, just to remind myself this is what we buy.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's kind of like a mini vision board on your desk, I guess, right? That's pretty cool.
All around me, I just look around. I'm like, hey, my different assets, exactly.
That's
and I include credit cards, debt, because that's how we buy real estate. I'm $3 million in debt right now, looking to go $6 million in debt next year, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, and for most people, that would scare the hell out of them, right? They'd be like, even their own mortgage, it scares them they're in debt. But you're in the good kind of debt, right? You're not just in debt where there's no money coming in and you have to pay that $3 million off yourself. You
exactly.
have rental properties that do that.
There's $5 million worth of real estate backing that up. So the equity position's there, the bank loves it, so and the rents are there to cover it. So it's a good situation. So it is, it's unique. You know, it's not what I thought it was going to be as I was building. I really just thought I was going to buy a bunch of 3 families and 6 families. And then eventually I figured I just own like a 40-unit building, right? That was like the vision that I had. And what's kind of happened was, you know, I was buying the 3 families. I started selling them with this pyramiding strategy where I'd sell the 3, I'd buy a 6. And, you know, I was buying 5 families, 6 families. That seemed to be what was prevalent in Fall River, in the city I invest in. And so I was buying these 3s, 5s, and then this 10-unit came up on the market. And I had just partnered with my business partner. We were aiming at just doing flips. We were flipping 3 families. Just renovating the bottom floor, leaving the top 2 tenants in. So like we didn't have any carrying costs. You know, with a flip, you got carrying costs. With a multifamily flip, it's like perfect. You know, I could just hold this thing forever. And if the market turns, I'll just rent it out. And now I cash flow. Nobody's going to cry for me. So then I bought a 10-unit, and that 10-unit was a big brick building. And I fell in love with larger buildings, brick buildings. And then I was speaking at an event, and I said, hey, I'm looking to buy deals. I'm looking to buy a 20-unit building, you know, in the next year. So if somebody has a deal, and this guy stood up, he's now in my mentorship program. And so years later, right, he brought me a deal then, but then eventually ended up signing for the program. And he told me, he's like, what if I had, would you buy condos? And my answer to this every other day was no. Like, absolutely not. It's not my market. I stay away from singles. I stay away from condos. And at this point, it was just like inspiration. I was like, well, at the right price, I would probably invest in anything. And he said, what about a package of condos? What if there were 24 condos? And I was like, well, it depends on the price. You know, what do you got? And they were at $35,000 a piece. and the ARV on these things is 100,000 each.
Wow.
So when he presented that, I had no clue how I was going to close on 24 condos, but I knew I was going to figure it out, right? Like I didn't have the capital in my bank account, or that wasn't there. But I learned real quick how to raise $300,000 and in private money, and we knocked it out of the park. We got it.
How did you raise that money? So you never raised a dollar before that, and then all of a sudden you want to raise 300,000?
So fortunately I'd worked that muscle previously. So we had previously we'd started doing flips, and we ran out of our own cash, and we had another opportunity come up on the market, and it was a 3-family for 124 or 124,000. And so we were like, this is a no brainer, right? The ARV was 200,000 on it. We're going to put like 15 grand into it. So we went and mentioned it to our community. We just said, hey, by the way, this is something that we're doing. I was literally speaking, just teaching about rental property. And in the deals section, I was like, hey, who's got a deal? Who's got an opportunity? And, offering everybody the chance. And then I said, hey, by the way, is it okay? Like, I've got a deal. I've got an opportunity that's coming up. Is it okay if I mention it? And then I mentioned, hey, this is what I'm doing. And I'm looking for $25,000 for the down payment to go and purchase this thing. And at the end, somebody came up and was like, yeah, I got that. No problem. Like, let's do it. And ever since then, he's actually become a lender. We've borrowed, I think we're holding maybe $85,000 with him right now. You give him money, he puts it in his account, and then he just keeps rolling the money. So it's like stacked up.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes all you need is one relationship, right? It's amazing. One person can change your life, right? Yeah. That's so cool. So what are you buying? What are you focusing on now? So you said you started with a small family. It's also funny as well. Depending on who you speak to, is what they call the property. Like you call them 3 families, some people call them 4plexes, some people call them 4 units, right? Depends on where in the country you are. That's always interesting to me. But so you're buying the small stuff. You eventually got into the 24 condos, but then where are you guys now? Where are you guys at now? What are you kind of buying now, focusing on now?
So we still buy on Fall River. So our portfolio is around 60 units, and it changes. Sometimes we sell some, we pick some up. So we do what's called the hybrid BRRRR strategy, where we hold them for a year or 2 to age them. So we're not paying capital gains when we sell. So anything we buy this year, we know some of it. Like, so if we buy a portfolio, like for example, in February, we bought a portfolio of 3 buildings, and it was 2 3-families and a 5-unit. So he and I actually looked at that portfolio and we said, we're probably selling this whole thing. Like at some point, 2 years from now, we don't want to hold 3 families. We don't want to hold 5 units. Not big enough. So we'll probably sell all this. But then a year's gone by, we put the 5-family on the market, and that looks like it's under agreement, and the 3-family is under agreement right now. So we're going to be making like silly money in December. This month, we're looking at making $500,000 just in not like gross, like we're selling like $1.2 million worth of real estate, but in actual profit, about $500,000 in 1 month. It's insane, Barry.
That's unbelievable. So you're done now, right? You got the rest of 2021 off, right? Just live off that money, sit back, drink a cocktail, and enjoy 2021.
That's why I'm writing the book right now, man. Like I gotta take this downtime over the winter. That's why we came down to Florida. We're writing the book, building the website. I just added so many calculators and so many different elements to the website to make it like an addictive space. So that people can grow for free. The goal is always free training, free everything, and we just make our money on the agency side. Like, you work with us, we transact with you. So the goal in 2021 is not to look at property. Like literally, I'm not allowed to look at property until I've finished the book I'm working on, and then by March. But here's the other side to it. I have to have this book finished by March because I am not allowed to touch any other project until I found another. I want to put down 100 units. Like that's my goal. I opened it to the community. So I have, a large community at Alchemist Nation, and I pitched to them the option to buy into our company. So South Coast Capital Investments. I sat with my business partner, Ron, and we finally said, because everybody's asking us to do a deal with them, and I don't want to go do a lot of deals. I like just doing 1 big deal a year, 2 big deals a year, and that's really worked out well for us. We just buy portfolios. We buy a whole bunch at once, and we sell what we don't like, and we keep what we do like. And so instead, I was like, why don't we just open up like 10? We sell 10% of the company, just a little bit. So you and I still control everything. We still do what we do, but now we can have them in it, and it stops us from paying interest. So what he and I have always done is we raised capital with 12% interest. So easy to raise capital. When you're giving people 12%, simple to raise.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you're paying 12%. Like, it's very expensive. And, it's 1% every month. So you give us $100,000, we're giving you $1,000 check every single month. And so we looked at, and every year we evaluate the company. We say, how do we get more efficient with this? How do we grow faster? How do we double our net worth? How do we get to the next level? And I've been talking a lot about building millionaires and, helping 100 millionaires, build 100 millionaires to be inspired to go build 100 millionaires. So I told him, I was like, why don't we allow our millionaires into this? Like the millionaires who are at that level, why don't we sell a little bit of our company so that they can actually be engaged in it with us and be part of, the 100 millionaires? Like they have a retirement plan in this by going out and by the way, you get rich if you have 100 millionaires in your back pocket, right? If you, if you build 100 people, like if you help 100 people get rich, you're rich. Like there's no getting around it.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool. That's fascinating. So the goal for you is, so how many millionaires do you have in your program already, or as part of the Alchemist Nation, roughly?
So
idea?
I set the goal of 100 millionaires sometime in June. We've identified 12. So we have 12 millionaires in the program. So 2021, I want to do 100. I'm 10Xing it. The way I see, and I can, because now I got those 10 who can expand with me. So ambitious goal, man. Like, why not?
Right, why not? Right, yeah, aim for the stars, right? What's the point if you're not, right? If you're just setting your goals low, there's no point. That's so cool. So you, on that point and on what you said earlier, your goal is to help people make 20,000 a month, right? Yeah. How does someone get there, right? Do they need to have a ton of money to start off with? How do you get to 20,000 a month? Because that's a really cool goal. I think every single one of us would love to get to that, right? Unless you're one of the millionaires that's listening, right? They want to make to 200 a month, but
I've, like I said, 12 millionaires in my program. Every one of them wants to know how to make an extra 20, right? Like that's just what it is.
so yeah, and it's different for every person, right? I'm not saying like you have this blueprint that works for everyone, but what is the kind of the basics of it, I guess?
So I love that. There is a principle-based blueprint, and then it is individual with everybody. So that's where the mentorship kind of came into play. We created the mentorship, and we sell it as low as we possibly could, so the volume could get through it. Because not everybody's looking to make 20 grand, but the principles are the same. Like whether you're looking to make 20 grand a month, or an extra $2 grand a month, or an extra $200 a week. Like everybody has different requirements. And, I got one of my students is like 40 grand a month. Like I got to make that. It's like, all right, like, cool. Like, what are you making right now? I'm making 20. Well, okay. That's reasonable for you. I can double that, Yeah. So, okay. So, all right. Yeah. I've preluded too much. So let's go back. The actual process is you build business. You don't need money to make 20 grand a month. You build business, you buy real estate. So real estate involves money. So that's where we get, caught up in our businesses and lives. And everybody thinks it takes money to make money. No, money just makes it easier to buy relationships. Relationships make money. Like there's no amount of money that can buy the highest level people on the planet. Does that make sense? Like you couldn't buy Bezos, right? Bezos has to like you, right? Like you have to inspire him to like you, and then you can get access to his cash. So in order to become somebody who attracts $20,000 a month, you first have to build something or a relationship that attracts $20,000 a month. You have to identify somebody who is already spending or desires to spend $20,000 a month, or 10 people who are looking to spend $2,000 a month, or 20 people who are looking to spend $1,000 a month. And there's many, many different ways to do this through real estate. Here we go. Real estate investors, right? So every real estate investor who's listening to this podcast, this is how you make $20,000 a month. You got to go and find five people who they're sitting on $60,000 that they want to hand you. Now, at first you think there's nobody sitting around with $60,000 that they just want to hand you. But the reality is they're called motivated sellers. And in their house, they're sitting on equity. And that equity is what you get when you buy the property at the right price. When you do your 70% ARV, you include your renovation costs, and you put your purchase price down to $100,000 when it should be, the ARV is $250, right? And you go and you score that thing. You got your 60 grand equity right there in the house. So you have clients already that are rich. They just don't know it. They don't know how rich they are, or maybe you're not paying attention to them. But there are so many rich people on the planet right now that, are house rich, cash poor, and you got to give them what they're looking for. They're looking for that transaction, looking for those little green houses to get turned into some of Uncle Benjamin's over here, right? They want more of these in their lives. So we've got access to those people, right? And it's like, man, you go into any city, there's thousands of them. There's hundreds of thousands of those motivated sellers, and they got your money. You just got to go serve them in the way that they're looking to be served, and then serve the marketplace, so that you can transact entirely. So the buyer on the other side wants that clean cut, perfect house to walk into. And when you look at $20,000 a month, so my rental portfolio is $40,000 a month. That's what we pull in every single month. And what's the solution there? I had a whole bunch of people who wanted a place to live. So I just went and got the inventory for them and I sold it to them.
Right.
Like, what do you want? You want housing? Excellent. Well, here's a house. I just bought it dirt cheap from the person who was cash poor. And I happened to go to a lender who was looking to get a return on investment. And so I just grabbed his money. I was like, don't worry, I'll pay you. And then went over and was like, hey, here's the money that I got from that guy. Just give me that house that I'm looking for. And then I went over to the tenant and was like, here's what I got for you, and just pay me monthly. And you spread it all out. Everybody wins.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah. It's finding what, it's like when they say, when you're trying to build a product, right? You've just got to find what the market wants. The market is going to tell you what they want, right? And it's exactly like you said there.
But so Barry, that advice is gold. Make sure the market has money. So it does not help you to go to the marketplace that doesn't have cash, right? So and here's the thing. Some of them look like they don't have cash, but they're sitting on a house. And some of them look like they do have cash and they're renting that apartment from me.
That's awesome. And so then how do you find your deals? Because like that's one of
Say it again?
How do you find deals? Because it's one thing to like, okay, that makes sense to everyone, right? But you've got to find those deals. You've got to find those people. How are you guys doing that?
Yeah. So we say no to about 5 to 10 deals every single week. Deals just fly across our desk. And people ask me what my strategy is, what my marketing budget is. Like you just asked, is one of the most powerful questions to ask in real estate. In fact, I'm writing the book right now on how to find deals off market. If I were to simplify it, the easiest strategy, and so here's a working title. It's called Get the Deal. So I figured I like straight to the point. It's not SEO friendly, but I put the underground playbook for finding motivated sellers, evaluating real estate properties, and closing more real estate deals in your market as like somewhere in the book that has to be there. I have built a training company around wholesaling, and I'm very honest and ethical when I tell wholesalers, look, wholesaling is hard. And if you think you're going to get rich, like the richest people, like the wholesalers who are successful are flippers. We wholesale as an accident. We wholesale because like we don't want the deal ourselves. Like we're just like, well, I'm not going to lose the money, so I'll wholesale it. And the most successful real estate agents are investors. Like we just work our own transactions. Like I have my license. I get a referral from everything I buy and sell. And so like if you're a wholesaler right now and you're thinking wholesaling is a way to get rich, like get your real estate license, because now you can triple the amount of income you're making. That same seller who says no to you will say yes to an agent. So you might as well just have your license and get paid. But the secret to it is every Monday night, I have a wholesale mastermind where I teach how to cold call, build lists, build marketing, targeting programs, demographics. I talk about the demographics, like how to identify the people who do have money, the people who are motivated to sell. And every Monday night at 5 o'clock, I just deep dive and I teach people how to make money with me, right? Like how to bring me a deal. Let me teach you how to find the deal. And then when you have the deal and it's something you can't afford, you can't swing, it's not your strategy, send it to me and I'll buy it. And so I've made my money off of investors who are looking for their own properties, but they occasionally find something that's not going to fit them. It's too big for them, like the big condo deal. My buddy at the time, he was like, dude, I can't take this down. Now, he regrets it a little bit. And he's like, he's buying a 15-unit building and he could have handled this one. But that was 2 years ago. And so, every investor levels up and I've just been leveling up a little bit longer. So the stuff that they're throwing off, I can take. So I aim to keep as much of the coaching and training and tools that I give free, because I believe that you may not have money. You have the desire and you have the ability to learn and the ability to do legwork. And so we just inspire people how to do it. And I love paying people, man. I love paying my lenders. I love paying my wholesalers. I love paying my real estate agents. I love paying my property manager. Like when those checks, I'm like Lil Wayne, man, like make it rain. Like, I'm out there. Like make it rain on them, you know?
That's awesome.
You know,
the reason you like paying for them is because that means you're making money, right? Because you're paying your property manager to do an awesome job because you have those rents coming in. You're paying your agent because he's finding you a deal and you're closing on a deal. You're paying wholesalers because you've got an awesome deal and you're willing to, right? It's all that stuff, right? And obviously as well, when you pay them, you're creating that connection and they're going to help you more, right? The more you pay them, the more they're going to help you, make you successful, right?
yeah, I'm always looking to strap the golden handcuffs on. So like even if like I say something that offends you one day, like you'll still be like, but he pays me, so I guess I'll come back.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. He's giving me money. I'm not going anywhere.
You know, I was like a heavy Trump supporter for a while. And so like every so often I was like, I'm still paying you commish, bro. Like, just so you know, we're still making money on this deal.
Yeah, here wear his MAGA hats. Well,
yeah, that's it. Like I still got like the gold Trump coins. So
that's funny, man. That's funny. Hey, I wanted to ask you, mentioned it, and we talk about that, but for people that are interested, why did you move to Florida? So you have this business, you're doing awesome, you're killing it where you are, everything's going awesome, right?
So 2 books. I read 2 books.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Say it again, Barry.
Yeah, I was just saying you're doing awesome, and then you just take this big step to move to Florida. What kind of brought that on?
So you know, New England is cold. It is, but that's not the only reason. I read these 2 books one was Pivot and the other was Big Shifts Ahead. And what they are is demographic research for real estate and what the culture is doing, what the community is doing, and where the world is going and shifting to. And through all of the research I'd done outside of that, but those 2 books really, if you just want to dive into it, Big Shifts Ahead is probably the book that'll tell you where demographic patterns are moving in real estate trends. And so I realized that the South is where the most opportunities will be in the future because people are moving down, baby boom generations going in that direction. And I chose the South based on it's also warmer and it's where I want to be. And I could continue building. So I also want to take on some appreciation plays. I've always been a cash flow guy. I've always been heavy in cash flow in gateway communities, the communities that most people are afraid to invest in. That's like my home. Like if people are afraid of the city, I'm like, perfect, excellent. What did you say that was again? What's that one? What's the one you don't invest in? Excellent. I'll be there. So when everybody zigs, I zag. So I want the one that nobody wants. I'll shine it up real nice. I'll make it better. So if there's a problem, I want to solve problems. We talked about that at the beginning, and my investment strategy is the same way. So, but I was looking for an appreciation play. So I wanted to, ride the Tesla of real estate. And so I was looking at Boston and the Bitcoin of real estate, right? So I was looking at Boston and I said, okay, if I'm going to stay local, I've got to go there. Like that's where real estate just goes up in value. I'm an hour away. I can just shift my operation up there. It's easy, not a big shift. All my licensing stays the same. But I thought 10 years out, do I want to be in the cold? Do I want to be here? Do I want to be in Boston? Do I want to deal with the traffic and the cold at the same time? Like, and do I want to stay in Massachusetts, which is a pretty tenant-friendly state? We'll put it that way. It's not in Taxachusetts. They call it Taxachusetts for a reason, right? like they're just like, you made money, excellent. We want peace. So there was a lot of pieces that came into play, and but everything pointed to the South. Everything pointed to Texas, Florida, Arizona as the states to be in over the next 5-10 years. And I want to be ahead, and I want to be in an appreciation play that gave me access to warm weather. And so that was kind of the combination. And, I'm not flipping down here. I'm just buying larger multifamilies. And the other piece was the inventory. There is no inventory in 100+ units in New England. Like you would look at New England, all of New England, all the states, like 13 states, New England, and you might get maybe 10 listings that are 100 units. You look at any city in Florida, Texas, or Arizona, and you got 10. Like that's what they built down here. Whereas in New England, like they just were like, hey, just a little bit at a time. Let's just do a little bit at a time. So it was inventory, where I wanted to be, and demographic patterns where they were going.
Tampa's not a bad place to live. I was telling you, I lived there myself. It's a beautiful place to live.
Barry, that's why I came. I know you were out here earlier. You were wrestling out here, so I was like, I just got to follow the man, the myth, the legend.
Whatever people tell you about me in Florida, in Tampa, it's not true. All right, it's a complete lie. Whatever people tell you.
50% of the time, all the time, right?
That's cool, man. That's cool, man. I love that you make that transition. You just jumped in again, right? You're obviously not scared of kind of taking action. On but you said big shifts ahead. And I haven't asked this for a while now, actually, but for a while I was asking every guest about what they saw with the economy and with investing and everything like that. And just as you brought that up, I realized I haven't been asking someone, but I think it's still relevant. It's almost like we've forgotten, right? Everything's been going well, and we're like, oh, everything's great now. But do you have a feeling, and it's just your opinion, it's not you predicting anything like that, but do you have a feeling about where things are going to go in the next 6 to 12 months, you think, or what's going to look like?
Barry, my favorite topic. I'm glad you asked. Let me pull out the book. Yes. Yes. I know exactly what's going to happen. And this is so very exciting, right? So I know exactly what's going to happen. I have a plan for it, a strategy for it. We've been planning it out for years. And it's different from last time. It's different from 08. It's completely different from what we've seen in 14, in 18. What we saw in 19 was a taste. We're looking at a flash crash coming. We're not looking at a long Great Depression. Like, we're not looking at a big recession. We're looking at something very similar to what we saw during COVID. And in fact, COVID was really a way of just making it feel better than, like, we were going into a recession anyway. It was bound to happen. Just COVID kind of gave us the opportunity to create a stimulus that didn't seem like an economic stimulus. It looked more like we're taking care of the country, health status, like, let's just get past this economic situation, this reckoning that we're about to go hit. And instead of letting it hit us, they said, we're going to borrow against our future here and hope that we can get the GDP up and hope that we can create more jobs. And so what does all that create for you? Well, it creates a inflation on the dollar, which, as real estate investors, awesome, excellent. Burn these things. I don't mind. Like, just keep inflating the dollar. It works on all my hard assets. And deflation, like, there's people saying deflation's coming. It's possible, but it'll be a flash deflation. Like, it'll be there for a little bit and then it'll be right back, because there's just too many of us in the marketplace now. Those stimulus that they put what was it, $600 a week into poor people's hands, and they put $1,200 into poor people's hands. What do poor people do with money? They get rid of it. Like, they're poor for a reason. Like, not because, like, the world's tough. They're poor because they just don't want money around. Like, in their head, money's evil, and so they get rid of it to Amazon. They get rid of it to Netflix. They get rid of it to they're trading now. They all got Robinhood, right? So they're dropping it into Bitcoin, and dropping it into Tesla. They're dropping it into Apple and the FANG, right? So they're doing all of these investments on Robinhood, which, by the way, Robinhood's got to be the biggest drain of wealth out there right now. Just watching people day trade that have no clue what they're doing. They're like, Rob, the market sucks. Got me. It's not the market. Like, you just don't play that way in a stagnant market. We're going sideways. This is not. It's a volatile market. This isn't like you buy and it goes up. This is a very volatile time to be buying. And so what we're seeing is a ton of investors now are sitting on cash. Right, just a lot of go down to the pawn shops. The pawn brokers are crushing it. Anybody who is in a business that makes money off of serving the poor is absolutely rich right now. Just absolutely crushing it. Convenience stores, landscapers, like anybody who serves anybody over this past year got rich. Entrepreneurs, anybody who worked for somebody got crushed. Everybody who worked for somebody just lost their money. And so we're going to see there's a ton of buyers in the market now, and there's going to be people who are in a desperate situation where they have to sell, but we've got the inventory to clean. We've got the buyers to clean it up. So it'll be a flash crash. There'll be an opportunity that comes up. Buyers are going to fill the marketplace very quickly, but it's just setting us up for a further down the road, bigger crash, because these buyers don't know what they're doing. It's new money. They're investing in an asset they don't understand. And so we're probably going to start seeing some opportunities June, July, August. We'll start seeing the deferment. So in March, the money that lenders are not, like, forbearance. The banks are in forbearance until March. After March, they're released. They no longer have to forbear. And so they're going to start foreclosing and start calling notes due. And for commercial, we're going to see that happen on a pretty high scale. But again, flash crash. We'll get in, we'll get out. The investors are sitting out there. The money's in the market. The old money, sophisticated money is sitting there waiting, right? Been waiting on the sidelines. Whereas this new money is coming in, and they're the ones that are going to get slaughtered. So this flash crash is the prelude to the next big crash. And that's, who knows where it is, could be 2-3 years down the road. but there's a lot of other economical situations that are happening right now. Like if you read The Rise of Robots, there's a technology crunch that is just absolutely wiping jobs out. Old jobs, not the new jobs. New jobs are there, and there's going to be new opportunities. But there's this wave coming through that is just crushing through. Like, dude, I don't hire anybody. Like, I'll be real. In my company, it's me and my business partner and like affiliates. I pay people, salespeople, to sell my mentorship program. I pay people to sell my mastermind program. I pay people to sell my coaching programs. And like they go out, they sell, and then I pay. But I got no upfront cost. The developers who build my website, like it's me poking around and I'm like, Fiverr, go and handle this, right? Like I figured it out. Now you just go and scale this, like do all the grunt work. And so I don't know what jobs I actually would need somebody to do other than manage my properties. So like I look at managing property as, okay, long-term business, get in there, be a landscaper, be a property manager, be a mechanic, be a HVAC guy. Like, dude, I'm paying these guys $150 an hour, like to plumbers, electricians. Like that's probably the trade you belong in. But if you're complaining about not having work at McDonald's, like, dude, like, I mean, your bar or your restaurant, like, come on, those things are going away with. Like, it's just not going to be the same for the next 5-10 years until we figure out how to deal with technology.
Man, that's interesting. Yeah, man, thanks for sharing. I'm glad I asked. I had no
idea.
An opinion. He has that crystal ball. We've all seen through it right now. That's awesome, man. That was some great insight.
I stole a lot of that from Robert Kiyosaki, Peter Schiff, who's the other one who's on his podcast, Harry Dent, and Ken McElroy. So like really smart guys. And I just, take their information and I regurgitate it and research it. And I'm pretty confident with what's happening there.
That's awesome. That's a great insight. Man, this has been such a fascinating interview, man. This has been so cool. We've like flown through the time, man. I could have easily kept this going a lot longer, but I'll respectfully your time. So there's 4 questions I always ask at the end, and they're wrestling related real estate questions. So I think you're ready, right? You seem like a guy that was born ready, man. The first question is, what would your wrestling name be? If you picked a wrestling name for yourself, what would it be?
I'd have to take The Alchemist. Okay. That's like mine.
Trademark. Don't anyone try and steal that.
Don't even go after it. Like that's mine. Yep.
So every wrestler has a special move. What would your special move be in real estate? What's your biggest strength, do you think?
It'd be the Midas touch, and like by the time I'm done with them, they're just like rigid on the floor. Like they just a block of gold and Midas touch.
Okay, which is what? Finding deals, connecting with people. What is your biggest strength, do you think?
It is finding what other people want and then finding the person who has too much of it. That is the Midas touch. Find somebody with an excess of what you're looking for, and then find somebody with the desire to attain that excess.
Cool, very cool. What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your investing career?
Biggest body slam, I'd say there's 3 that I took. So for some reason, I kept getting back up, and I still will. One was I bought a single family house subject to, took me 3 years to flip it. The other one was I bought a condemned building. The city shut me down, made me put my tenants into other housing. It cost me about $20,000 to put it back in the market and get it going. But I did eventually flip it, made 40 grand. So not a complete loss, but a terrible year of my life. And then the most recent one was this refinance. I bought 50 units in this last year, all with hard money, private money, 12% interest, sometimes 14 with 2 points on it. And I've been carrying that. It's a $2.5 million 12% interest loan that I've been carrying, like multiple loans that I've been carrying for the last since February. So we're supposed to do a refinance in February. We didn't shut down our buying machine because we were just into this refinance. So we kept buying through February, kept buying through March, kept buying through June. The refinance kept pushing. And so we got stuck with this high inventory of super expensive money. And so me and my business partner have been we've been negative cash flow, like not a lot, but it's been enough where we're like, man, like we got to keep doing flips in order to support this rental portfolio until we can get this refinance done. So I'd say this year we've spent almost $120,000 in interest that we would not have normally paid. So this refinance actually closes Friday. So it's actually like finally, like thankfully we found a bank who could do it. But that would probably be the biggest one where I'm like, man, I don't know like how much more of this I could take. Maybe it wasn't a body slam. It's more of like a chokehold.
You can't get out of it, right? Yeah.
But it's been good, like it just taught me a lesson of of like, just dive deep, make money somewhere else, don't be afraid, like don't hold on to money. So the reason it hurts is because we were just trying to hold on to all of our property, right? When I start flipping some of the property, it's like, okay, like I know I can get it back. That's what I do, right? Like that's what I teach. I teach how to find deals. So like, I don't have to hold these. I can go after 100 units next year. I could sell this whole portfolio, cash out, put 2 million in our pocket and go and buy an $8 million portfolio or $10 million portfolio with that $8 million without raising capital. So it's like, dude, like, are we really in a bad spot? Like, no, it's a good position, tight spot. Like that's, you're gonna win the race, but it's just like for that moment, it's like, oh man, is my face turning blue? So.
Yeah, well, cool. I'm glad we're able to get out of it. Hopefully everything goes all right on Friday. So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it and how did you overcome it?
Wow. So Barry, yes, actually this coaching program, this scaling this. So I have always been about serving, like obviously younger me wasn't so much, but since I started coaching, I was about serving. And right now it was getting on stages, like going out and asking for the stage. People would tell me, oh, you should be on Grant Cardone's stage. And I was like, yeah, like later. But really it was my head. I was like, I'm terrified. Like, do you know how much hate that guy gets? Do you know how many people are like mad at him for the things he says? Like every so often I'll get one person who's like, screw you. You're just trying to scam people. And I like get beat up over it. Like, I'm like, fuck you, like, no, I want to help people. Like, do you not see how many people I've helped? And my community is so good. Like they'll go and like destroy that person, like right there and be like, hey, he helped me. Like they'll start posting checks. So, like that fear of success, because it's not fear of failure. Like I'm not afraid of like going and doing like helping more people. I can build millionaires. It's that fear of success. Like once I get there, like what will people think of me? Like what will people think that I'm too good to talk to? Will my students be like, oh, I can't reach out to him because he's gotten so big? Or will I be not able to sit down in a restaurant and somebody come up to me and say, hey, how do you do it? Like I don't ever want to get to that point where somebody who really needs it is afraid to ask. And I also don't answer the phone for anybody. Like my business partner just called me. I'm going to text him and say like, what's up? But like, I don't answer the phone for anybody. So, but text me and I respond. Like no matter what, I respond. Like I can figure it out. So it's one of my biggest fears that at some point I'm going to say something that'll offend somebody. And I might actually be wrong, because I do sometimes, say stuff that offends people. And later on, I do have to apologize because, maybe I wasn't thinking right at that point. But I'm ready to do it, man. Like this podcast, saying yes to this. I was saying no for the longest time. I was saying no, and I was avoiding people who are successful with influence. And now it's really like, you know what? Like, again, it's just my coach saying, and you're playing small. You're playing small. Like you got to go big, help more people. Why not? Why not go out there and, you said 100 millionaires in a year. Why isn't it 10 million? Like, why aren't you aiming at 1 million millionaires? Like it just sounds good. Why aren't you doing it? And so I'm working on that one. So I'll let you know when I jump.
Okay. That's awesome, man. Yeah, but that's a cool story. I appreciate you sharing. Man, this has been a fun interview. This has been awesome, man. This has been so energetic and cool, man. I just talked about so much fun and interesting and fascinating stuff, man. It's just been really cool talk. But before we end it, where can people find out more? Like, to plug everything you have. Like, how do people find out about the Monday night call that they can get on to learn about wholesaling? Where can they find out about your books? Where can they find out about your coaching program? Where can they find out about investing with you? All that good stuff. Plug everything, man.
Awesome. Barry, by the way, thank you so much for the opportunity. I am a natural born salesperson and I love selling something worth selling. And so since all of it is free, I'm like, dude, like sign up for all this free stuff. Gualteramarelo.com, Gualter, Amarelo.com. I've got my free rental calculators, my compound interest calculator, the net worth tracker, which if you want to get rich, it's what I started doing. It's my pyramid calculator on there. So you can actually learn how to buy a whole bunch of real estate in an order, so that the stuff you buy first actually allows you to buy like 2 properties instead of just, buy one at a time. There is every Saturday, I teach my favorite class. This is the 52 Weeks to Wealth. So it's 52 millionaire wealth principles I digested from the 300 books I've read, from the $85,000 I've paid in coaching and mentorship and traveling the country, and the 97 people I've had on my podcast were all millionaires, richer than I am. And I put the 52 Weeks to Wealth together, and each week is associated with a book that represents that principle really well. And so there's 52 books. And in the mentorship, we teach you how to read a book a week. There is a process to it. And so Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that is 52 Weeks to Wealth. Monday, these are all free events. Monday is Wholesale Mastermind, where we teach you how to get the deals. We call it Get the Deal. That is Monday at 5 Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday at 5, we teach real estate agents how to work with investors. So teaching real estate agents how to do the numbers, how to get on bigger pockets, how to actually calculate and get people like real deals, not just like garbage deals. And then at 6, we teach real estate investors how to buy their first property, using no money down or creative financing. And then that's on Wednesdays. So 7 o'clock on 6 o'clock on Thursdays is a sales training for affiliate marketers. So I pay people to bring people into my mentorship because they're helping. So there's 2 reasons to bring people into my mentorship, right? One, you just want to help the world and help me reach my goal of 100 millionaires each year, or you're actually creating a job out of this and you like the $200 I pay you every time you bring somebody through. So there's 2 reasons to do it. And so the affiliate program is on Thursday to talk about that and how to sell and how to increase income using just affiliates. It doesn't have to just be my money, my affiliates. You can affiliate with other people to increase your income. Like I affiliate with lenders, insurance agents, attorneys, coaches, financial advisors, real estate agents. There's so much money out there, contractors, where like my affiliate side is getting bigger than my coaching side. We make more money on the back end than on the front end, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. You message me, I'll respond. Like message me, don't call me, but message me, I'll respond. I'm always there. Do not email me. I don't check that thing either. That's my assistant. So, but Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm available. I'm easy to get.
Man, you're a busy guy, no doubt about it. That's awesome, though. Thanks. Yeah, everyone should go check those things out. And I'll put the link to all of that stuff in the description and the show notes. Well, Gualter, man, thank you so much, man. It's been an awesome interview. Like, such a cool interview. I appreciate you taking the time, man. And have an awesome rest of your day in Tampa, Florida. I'm jealous.
Barry, dude, I'm jealous. You're living in Vegas, man. That's like my dream place. I lived there for 3 months. I definitely want to move back. At least one winter out of the year, out of the next few years, and check it out again. Barry, so you did an awesome job interviewing me. I think it's your turn. I want you on the podcast, man. Alchemist Nation needs you, brother.
We got good timing because we're going to be doing it tomorrow, right? We're going to be so everyone look out for that one. I'm excited for that one. That'll be a fun interview for sure.
Awesome. Cheers to your success. When you have a choice, always work with the best.
I love that.